Hello, 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 my dear viewers, my dearest fans and haters, both. Welcome. Hi. How's it going, gang? Oh, we got a show for you today. It's gonna be some call-ins. It's gonna be relaxed. It's gonna be calm, chill, mostly. We'll see. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's gonna depend on who calls in, right? So, we could have very low key, just kind of nice discussions and chats, or it could be a scream fest. I don't know. We're gonna find out. It's always a mystery. We'll figure it out together, gang. I got some stuff planned. If we don't have very many callers, things to go over, things that have caught my eye, if you will, throughout the week and today in particular, that we should probably look into and see what's going on, right? So first of all, I guess I just want to say that it has been interesting seeing different communities kind of notice me. I have watched a lot of the reaction to yesterday's discussion, where we had a Dungeons and Dragons discussion with Harmony Ginger, Sansol, and a few others, and seeing that kind of trickle out into spaces of Twitter that I normally don't interact with has been interesting. It's like casting a smell. No Cal Mike, I'm here, Wick. It'll all be okay. Of course, No Cal Mike has been with me for over a year now. It's been almost 2 years, hasn't it? You've been watching me quite regularly for a while, and we appreciate you. We do very much. But yeah, so that was a good discussion. Do you guys like those types of discussions, though? I know it's not what I normally do. I know it's not political, right? What do you guys think? Should I branch out more? Should I try my hand in different communities? Or do you want me to stick to the old tried and true? Do you want me to stick to more political focus? Do you want me to stick to more geopolitics, domestic policy, electoralism, that kind of thing? Do you want to see me get into more culture war stuff, right? There's always culture war stuff to get into. We're going to get into it a little tomorrow. We have something planned for you nice. William of Orange says, become a StarCraft 2 streamer. Gang, I'm not very good at StarCraft 2, believe it or not. No Cal Mike says, non-political topics are cool. I just didn't know how much about D&D stuff specifically, but that's okay. Yeah, no, I get it. It's one of those things where there's a lot of people who would normally watch me just aren't aware of the ins and outs of it, and I get that. But hopefully those people who did enjoy it, right, who did enjoy that kind of interaction, will stick around for some of my other interactions. Like, for me personally, I like a variety of content. I don't just watch one thing. Like, I don't just read one type of book. I don't just watch one type of show. I don't just play one type of game. I am very much of the opinion that we should broaden our horizons, that we should dabble. I'm a dabbler, okay, gang? I like to stick my fingers in many pies. And so that kind of comes out in my content, I think. I think that a lot of people who are looking for someone who just does one thing, they kind of get bored of this show. They'll tune in for the thing that they like, but they won't stay. And that's fine, right? Different strokes for different folks. But me, I like a variety of things. William of Orange says D&D is fun. Yes, it is. Dami says Fortnite box fights. Well, hey, Dami, nice to see you. Nice to see you. Welcome in. I'm up on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. All three today. We're getting the trifecta. Rabid Wombat says, or No Cow Mike says, the only thing Wick is loyal to is his hoodie. And Rabid Wombat responds, and the dice. Rabid Wombat, you talk a lot of shit. You should call in today. And gang, just to remind you, just to let you all know, today is a call-in stream. So what does that mean? That means that you, dear viewer, you, yes, you, can call into the show. And you may be asking yourselves, well, how do I do that? What's the process? Do I have to fill out any forms? No, you don't have to do a goddamn thing except for join my Discord. That's what we do the show through. That's how we take calls. I'm going to put ! Discord up in chat in the Twitch chat, and I will make a link to the YouTube chat as well as the Kick chat. And so what you do, dear viewers, what you do, dear friends, is you click this link that I'm going to give you. Wait a second, Kick. I'll give you it in a second. Give me a second. There you go, Princess Pamela, my loyal Kick viewer here. So what you'll do is you'll click on that link. Okay, once you click on that link, you'll see some rules. You got to accept those rules. You got to click on the face emoji, the one with the my beautiful mug, okay? You click on that, and then there may be a timer to wait, like 5 minutes or so. I think we removed that. I'm not entirely sure. But once you click that, you should have access to the server, and you'll be able to join backstage. It'll be at the top of the screen, okay? Top of the Discord. You click the button. You'll jump backstage, and when we're ready, when it's your turn, I'll pull you in. Now, gang, I recommend that you get there early because we start slow, but if the show's good, by the end of the show, we have quite the line. I see you, average debate enjoyer. Let me get my spiel out, and then we'll pull you in. Trust me. We already got people in line, okay? So you're going to join the server, click the link, accept the rules. I'll pull you in when it's your turn, and we'll talk about whatever it is you like. So, again, no topic is off limits. No question is off limits. If I don't want to answer, I'll just say I don't want to answer, right? But feel free, as long as you're not breaking toss, to bring up anything, give your sound off, say your piece, whatever you like, on whatever topic you like. It doesn't have to be politics. It doesn't have to be Dungeons & Dragons related. It doesn't have to be related to this space at all. Sometimes we have people come in and ask me for advice on their life. And if that's what you want to do, I give really good advice, believe it or not. I'm not very good at following it, but I give good advice. So feel free. With that out of the way, let me bring in our first caller. Yo, what's up?
Let me turn the camera back on here. Hold on one moment, please. We Gucci?
We good. I can hear you. I can see you. Your dog is fighting with the other dog, and that's cool. But hi, how you doing?
All right, I'm here to yell at you.
Okay, I'm here for it. What do you got for me?
I want to ask you, how do you feel that the Biden administration fully turned its back on Israel, set red lines for them, completely gave up on even mentioning the 5 American hostages, and is now fully demanding they pull out of Gaza completely?
So, couple things. I don't think it's entirely turned its back on Israel. I think that's hyperbole. I think that it's okay and good to set boundaries with your allies. And one of the boundaries was not to go into Rafah. I have mixed feelings on that boundary. I don't know enough about the situation on the ground to say if that was a good red line or a bad red line. But here's the thing with red lines. If you don't enforce these boundaries, they're meaningless, right? Much like the border. If you don't enforce it, it doesn't mean much. And if we want for people to take our red lines seriously, we have to be willing to, if we say something, to follow through. And I think that that's very, I'll let you respond in a minute. Let me get through it, okay? But I think that's just good policy to have in the first place. I think that calling for an entire pullout of Gaza, I think is unwise. I think that while Israel is not conducting this war in the best way possible, it is far from a genocide. I also think that um, we have a tendency to be a little too reactionary, not in the political sense, but in the actual reactionary sense, right? Like when it comes to politics. And I think Biden may be making a mistake by relying on that too much. However, that said, Biden's foreign policy has in large part been very good, and I support it fully. I think that having red lines is, to summarize, red lines, good. They haven't abandoned Israel by any measure. They're not turning their back on them entirely, but I think it's fair to express discontent with how the war is being waged. And yeah, go ahead.
It's pretty reasonable. So there was a red line that Biden drew with Ukraine not using weapons offensively to attack. I want to
Russian
say it was,
territory or something. Yeah.
yeah, certain parts of Russian territory. I don't remember the exact story. And when they did that, we did not enforce that red line. Would you be
Yeah, that was
happier
bad.
seeing?
That
Yeah,
was
you'd be
that
happier
was bad.
seeing.
I would have done that. Like, first of all, that red line was dumb. Just throwing that out there. I don't like that red line. But if you're going to say something, you need to follow through. And yes, you can walk that back later. You can, if through negotiations you're willing to adjust your red line, I think that's perfectly valid and perfectly fair. But if you say that, hey, this is something we are not going to allow, you should stick to your guns. I believe Obama made a red line in Syria that he didn't stick to his guns. And I think that was a mistake.
Yeah, no, for sure. You definitely can't say this is our red line and then let somebody cross it and not do anything. It makes you look weak on the world stage. Absolutely, totally agree with you. It's reasonable. Everything you're saying is rather reasonable. I'm just more asking if you kind of, so you don't feel like Biden's administration has fully betrayed Israel. Are
No.
you familiar with what happened with the whole ceasefire deal that over the 33 hostages?
Which one? There's been so many deal proposals, right? You're going to have to be more specific.
Okay, so the one Bill Burns was in Egypt negotiating a peace deal between Hamas, a ceasefire deal between Hamas and Israel. And some of the terms were a 5-year ceasefire. Israel asked for 40 special types of hostages, old people, sick people, kids, things like that. Hamas said that they could only produce 33. Now, the ceasefire deal was out there. Hamas took it, rewrote it, and did a counteroffer. But without saying it was a counteroffer, the United States backed it, and Israel was blindsided with the counteroffer. They found out some of the language that they changed was going to allow Hamas to return dead bodies in a prisoner exchange for hostages.
Yeah, first of all, I'm not sure United States actually backed that deal.
They didn't. They didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't tell Israel. Israel found out about it when it hit the press, and
okay.
Israel.
Failure of communication. Maybe I'm not exactly sure what went wrong there, but the deal that Hamas proposed was really bad. It was a bad deal. Giving back corpses, dead bodies instead of live hostages is just never going to be okay. It's never acceptable. And I think that, like, here, if I may, right, like this whole Israel deal, right, like, so for those of you who are new to my channel, maybe you tuned in for my D&D content, let me just give you my stance on this. I don't think there's a good guy in this conflict. I don't think Israel is doing everything it can to prevent all civilian casualties, right? But it's by far from being indiscriminate. I think that there are some really big violations that we should look into with Israel, such as there's been a report released by CNN recently with their treatment of prisoners and things like that, that if the reporting is accurate, people should go to jail for that. There are people, whoever is responsible and whoever was involved with that needs to go to jail. There needs to be some kind of punishment. However, that said, every single member of Hamas needs to die. I don't know if that's possible. It might not be. But every single member of Hamas needs to die. I'm not excited about that. Well, either die or go to jail forever, right? That's fair. But like, I'm not excited about that. Like people will call me bloodthirsty. No, that's not exciting. I'm not going to cheer it when it happens. It's sad, but it's necessary. It's something that needs to happen. Now, again, politics is the art of the possible. So is war, right? There are some goals that we have that just aren't achievable. I don't know if this is one of them. Because again, there's a lot of tentacles that Hamas has in a lot of places, right? Like Qatar, you got their spokesmen living in hotels, and it just might not be feasible to get them all. However, that said, just because I don't think Israel is the good guys doesn't mean Hamas is at all, and the Palestinian people deserve better. I saw a thread today, actually, and I'm curious your opinion on this, where let me read it for the class here. This is from the DSA, 𝕾𝖍𝖎 in the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, I believe is the official name of the party. He says, Islamism is historically progressive in the same way that dissident Christianity is. If you love John Brown but hate Hamas, you are taking an inherently racist position. Both abolitionists and Islamists have fought for liberation on conservative religious principles. And that kind of thinking, I'm gonna say it outright. That's retarded. That's retarded. And what is the DSA doing? Did they decide that, hey, we're out of money, so fuck it, right? We're just gonna make sure we never get any money again? Like, what's going on? What are your thoughts? Go ahead.
I was laughing at that. I mean, I don't take the DSA that seriously. Didn't even AOC abandon them recently? And they're just kind of this small interest group that doesn't really. I don't know. I thought it was funny. I laughed. I liked it, and kept scrolling.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Did I answer your question sufficiently?
I still want to get to a couple things. Again, this Blinken interview from a couple of days ago is why I say this. There was a report released. The Biden administration did its own report on if Israel's actions were violating war crimes. And what they said is there's reasonable suspicion to at least think that, and more investigating needs to be done. But they could not find any proof that any war crimes had actually been violated by Israel. 2 days later, Blinken goes out an interview and says they are doing actions that are at odds with international law, essentially saying they're committing war crimes, and called for them to leave. Like, he took the findings of the report and then added to them a non-truthful statement to make Israel look worse, and then called for Israel to completely withdraw from Gaza. And he is the spokesperson for the administration on this particular subject. I think that's about as full-throated as a anti-Israel stance as you can take right now.
Well, first of all, no. I mean, if they wanted to go full-throated yeah, I get what you're saying though. I'd have to look at the interview itself. I'd have to kind of go over it and see exactly and precisely what was said. But on its face, I don't. It's one of those things where if you got proof, show it. This is a problem. That we've been flooded with shit. The zone's been flooded with shit from since October 7th. Like the moment it happened, there's people calling what's happening in Gaza and what's happening in that area a genocide. That it was war crime, genocide. Before the first retaliatory strike even happened, it was being called a genocide. They were calling for a ceasefire. So there's been so many false statements about what Israel has done that it becomes almost impossible to hold to them account for things that they probably actually did. And we all understand that there was probably, there's some things that look mighty suspicious, right? That deserve to be investigated. I think that any honest actor that's observing this can say, yo, those strikes on those cooks, the WNA cooks, something's fucked up about that. Like, we need to hold people accountable. People need to go to jail. Maybe people need to face prison time, maybe. I don't know. It needs to be looked into. The prison system, like I mentioned earlier, the way they're treating some pals, needs to be looked into. There's something fucky-wucky going on we need to look into. But the problem is, it's very hard to do so because you have people who have been screaming at the top of their lungs that the Jews, I mean the Zionists, are killing everyone over there. They're killing thousands and thousands and thousands of babies every second, right? They've killed 1 billion people by this time, right? Like, it's just so much shit. You got to sift. The signal to noise ratio is just so inappropriate. And that's why I really push back against the people who call this a genocide or are using these strong languages or who make shit up and I catch you making shit up. Like, again, everyone remembers who's been watching me a while, when Vivian came in and just made shit up about a bunch of journalists being killed. Journalists have been killed over there, but what she was referencing, no one died. And she's, again, going off and trying to push this narrative and this agenda that thousands of journalists are being killed every day, and using just bullshit to do it. It's I can't trust anything I'm hearing about this. That said, I think it's perfectly reasonable to be like, yo, there's something fucky wucky going on with some of these things, and we need to investigate it and perhaps hold them accountable to whatever degree we can. I think that's fine.
That's all I got. Whenever you get time,
Cool.
it's the fourth citation down in the Google Doc I sent you.
Google Doc. Tyler, you're going to the void. Sending me a Google Doc. What are you sending? What do you think I am? Okay, sending me a Google Doc. Okay, before my call-in show. What am I supposed to do with this? Oh, thank you for the sub, Black Metal Followers 666. It's metal as fuck, first of all. They say, hey, Wick, I just want to say I love your show before I will go to sleep. I hope I can jump on the panel when, if there will be related subjects such as war in Ukraine, history, and philosophy. I'm always looking for new voices. And gang, if you ever want to be on my show, it's pretty open. I let pretty much anyone on. All you have to do is shoot me a DM on Discord or on Twitter about the subjects that you find interesting or you're passionate about, and we can see if we can set something up. But yeah, thanks for the call-in. Let's see who else we got today. Hello, you're live. You're muted on your end, sir. What you got for us?
Am I live now, Wick?
You are live now. What do you have for us?
Well, I'm not a rhetorician or a debate bro. I don't even like to speak in public, but I do appreciate your stream. I don't really agree with almost anything that you say. I did make the observation when you did the political event that well, no, that was another thought. Wick, I want to tell you the issue that concerns me the most, especially as the election is approaching, is the fate of the J6ers.
The
And
January 6th committee people?
no, the people who protested
Oh, okay.
on
No,
J6.
the rioters or whatever
And,
you want to call them. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I don't call them rioters, I call them hostages. And I'm amazed that folks don't think I'm sincerely interested in this issue, number one. Yeah, and I guess I can't form my thoughts here very well, but I'd kind of like to know from your end, do you think the level of prosecution these people have seen, and I can give you a website if you need to go to it to see how badly many of them ended up. I'd give a simple case of someone like 𝕵𝖎𝖙𝖘𝖍𝖔𝖜. He's basically a streamer who walked in the building and then turned around and his life has been ruined by, a case that even he didn't have these people don't have the money to defend themselves. I feel like the Biden administration has had a lot of fun taking revenge on them, and there's just stunning double standards. Most recently, with the destruction done by the Palestine protesters on campuses, they've done a lot of material damage. Not to mention, there's been almost no prosecution of BLM protesters who basically burned down parts of my city. So I guess that's my rant. But I'd just like to know, why does everyone think I'm the crazy one for believing in J6 truth?
Dare I ask what J6 truth is?
Oh, I mean, some people would say it's a government inside job.
So you
And that it
think
was
that
planned by the federal government. I don't believe that. I think these people come from where I'm from. That's why this is personal to me. I'm from a rural area.
So am I. Go on.
They got into more than they should have gotten into. And
Okay,
I'd say the conspiracy from my side is the level of prosecution is absolutely insane, Wick, for some. Can I say a swear word?
no slurs, but go on.
Oh, I'm sorry. For some effing
Oh, you
Vietnamese
can say
girl.
fucking. I just don't
Well, some
know N
fucking
words or anything like
Vietnamese
that.
girl. There are a lot of Vietnamese people there, by the way. I don't know why. Some fucking Vietnamese girl who barely walked in the building. Now she's headed to jail. That's where I think
So
the truth is. It's not a
let me ask you
conspiracy,
this.
it's a truth.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. What
Mhm.
do you think should have happened to the protesters on January 6th? If anything, the ones who broke into the building, who attacked the cops, all that. What do you think should have happened to them?
Can I ask you a question back, even though that's not how the debate world works?
It's your call, right? You can do whatever you like.
What do you
I
think
do want
should
an answer to my
happen?
question, though.
What do you think should happen to the Palestine protesters who trashed the most important historic building on the USCLA campus
Depends on how
last week?
involved they were, right? Like, so I don't.
Their names are on the walls, Wick. The historic tiles, the historic stonework is trashed.
The historic stone worship, sure, but how involved were they in the process? Were they the ones doing the trashing? Did they just happen to be there? And I think there's a fundamental difference between that and the January 6th incident, right? Whether you want to call it an insurrection, a riot, a protest, I don't care on the terminology right now. I'm just trying to get your opinion. So, what I think should have happened to the college protesters really depends what they were doing. Like the ones who were like fighting the cops, actually should get jail time, right? The ones who were just there shouldn't. Now, when it comes to the January 6th stuff, I'm curious, what is your opinion? What should have happened to the people who were breaking in, who were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," who were going through looking for the politicians with their little zip ties that they had, right? A lot of people, a few of them brought zip ties. The ones who were going in, hunting people down, right? And fighting with the cops. What do you think should have happened to those people?
I think you have a very small subset of the people you're talking about with zip ties and that sort of thing, rifling through papers.
Sure. We can
Uh,
discuss the ones
so
who
do
didn't
we
do any of that
exclude
later. But
those?
for those people, what
Oh,
do you think should have happened?
oh man, you're pushing me into a corner I don't want to get pushed into. I'd say a reasonably short prison term for those folks.
A,
But
a month, a year?
can I add no, year or two.
Okay.
But Vic, how does that bring us closer together as a country?
I think that it showcases and sets an example that if you go into the White House or the Senate or the Congress and you fuck around, that there will be extreme consequences. And I do put whether I'm right to do so, whether this is consistent or not, doesn't matter to me. I do put things like breaking into the Senate at a fundamentally different level than breaking into the Heritage
UCLA,
Hall at the college, at the Columbia College, right?
Columbia, sure.
Neither are good. Neither is something I want to see happen. But one is just fundamentally more serious and should be dealt with more seriously than the other. Does that make sense?
Okay, I'm with you. But should the hammer have come down like it has on people that you and I know these people from rural areas? They can't afford to get divorced. They're never going to fight off the federal government. So they might have
I
committed these
will.
acts. How are they ever going to defend themselves? They basically didn't. They took awful plea deals.
I mean, they didn't have to, but
No, of
fair enough.
course.
I would have to look. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know every single sentence that has been passed out or has been sought for the January 6th protesters, rioters, insurrectionists, whatever you want to call them. I don't know off the top of my head what their sentences look like. Can you give me an example of the most atrocious sentence that a January 6er has received so far, in your opinion?
Damn,
The
I was just
worst.
reading. Um, I believe it's a 15-year. I'm very bad with math, but his release date was so fucking far in the future. I'm like, damn, this sentence does not fit the
15
crime.
years seems like a lot, but give me what did he do? What was
I
he
don't have a
charged with?
specific. Can I come back into the future into the
Of course.
Discord?
Tell you what. DM it to me later when you find out, and I'll look over it. Because without specifics, it's very hard for me to engage with whether or not I feel it was appropriate or not. I think that there
Can
are
I give you a
certain.
specific case of the person I know secondhand, which is why I care about this?
Okay, sure. Give me the one you know best, and we'll talk about it. Cool.
Well, yeah, I know who it is. Um, he was talking with a friend. He's part of Oath Keepers, and they did force their way through a window. So I think it took him 2 or 3 years for prosecution. Sorry, I don't know the proper terms. And he got something like 2 or 3 years, and then supervised release.
So
So
2 to 3 years for basically breaking into the Senate or the Congress. I forget which one it was, right?
I think part of the facade
Okay.
of the actual Capitol building.
Yeah, the Capitol bill. He broke into it with his buddy, and he was one of the vanguard. Is what it sounds like.
He broke a window for sure.
In order to force entry into the facility.
Probably to allow it.
Okay, yeah, I don't
I
know
mean, it
if
is
2 years is
destruction
too
of a
much.
federal building.
I don't
So.
think 2 years is too much for that. Given the context of the event, I think, again, I don't know the specifics of this guy's case, obviously, and I might change my mind if I looked into it. But just giving me that's pretty serious. And we don't just charge people on what happens. We charge them on the risks that could have happened, like gross negligence and things like that. Like if a company starts, for example, to not follow certain regulations, we still charge them for not following the regulations, even if nothing bad has happened yet. So we do punish, and I think it's good to punish certain crimes, right? Even if the worst possible thing that could have happened didn't actually happen. Like, again, I would, if he had gotten 15 years, I'd be like, well, come on, right? But 2 years I don't think is entirely unreasonable for this.
Well, I mean, it was 0 for the BLM rioters, so we'll
I
go there.
mean, look.
Can I leave you with a final? I don't want to take up a lot
Sure.
of time.
Final thought. Go ahead.
Just say, like, as an average MAGA voter, I guess a gay one at that, I'll say, like, if the Trump folks don't come out with some sort of very clear policy statement on J6, it'd be really hard for me to vote for Trump. I mean, obviously I am, because the illegal situation is completely out of control. But I'll just say this, that I really enjoyed his speech the other night in New Jersey, but he barely touched on the J6, and he barely touched on the border issue. It was all about inflation. I'm like, dude, his campaign, he's gonna win, but
So
wow,
I
what a
will
shit
leave you
show.
with this before we go and before I send you to the void. Like everyone gets sent to the void, so don't take it personally, friend. But I'll give you this, and I hope you hear me because I mean this sincerely.
Uh-huh.
Trump he doesn't actually believe in these policies he's putting forth. Trump
Right.
doesn't actually want to help the January 6th people. If
Right.
if he can use them, he will, but if he can't, he's just going to throw them under the bus. He doesn't actually care. He doesn't actually care about the border. He doesn't actually care about tax. Well, he might care about Texas because it affects him, right? But he doesn't actually care about these positions. And that's one of the things that, while I understand that it is a path to power, it's not something I can ever respect. And it's much like when I see leftists, when I see quote unquote progressives, they will give lip service to principles, but then when it comes point to live up to their principles, They just cast it away, which happened a lot after October 7th. I don't respect those people either, and I can't follow them where they're going.
I
Luckily,
agree on all of that.
however, I do think that Joe Biden actually believes in a lot of his principles. I think that he has a record of success legislatively, and you may not like some of the legislation he's gotten in, but he's a genuine guy. But I'm going to send you to the void, buddy. I'll see you later. Bye. Yeah. Look, I'm going to be real with you, gang. I don't know the exact sentence that all the January 6ers are getting. I don't know. And it's very possible that they're being heavy-handed. The state is being heavy-handed here. I don't know. But 2 years for breaking into the Capitol building during an insurrection/riot, whatever you want to call it, doesn't seem out of bounds to me. Now, the idea that more protesters should get more jail time, I'm generally against. I think that the people who didn't break anything, right, who didn't fight the cops, shouldn't get jail time, right? Even in January 6th, to be clear, right? But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Let's bring on the next contestant on whatever this is. Gang, I'm going to try to get you in the order that you came in, but I'm going to be real with you. I didn't pay attention to the order you came in. So we're just going to pull people in. Cool? Cool. And gang, if you like this content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Send me money. Super chats are really nice. Gift subs, all that really helps. Hi, you're live.
Oh, hey, Wick, what's up?
Oh, just doing a call-in show.
Yep.
How's it going?
It's going well. So one of the things, the thing I wanted to talk about, we were talking about some other stuff in there, but anyway, you'll get that later, I'm sure. The flippant use of the R word, like, what is wrong with you lefties? What has gotten into you?
First of all, the R word being retarded?
Yes.
Okay. The flippant use of it? The moratorium on using it is fairly recent. When I was growing up, remember, I'm a 40-year-old man. When I was growing up, no one thought twice. We said it all the time. It wasn't only until the last maybe 10 years that people have expressed that you quote unquote shouldn't use it. But
Yes.
no one tells me the words I can and cannot say except for Twitch toss.
No, but I can tell you why if you like.
Sure. $5 from 2024 𝕾𝖎𝖙 to say, Wick, you're amazing and you handsome devil. I think Biden has been the best possible president for this Israel-Palestine bullshit. Thank you for the $5, and everything you just said there is true. But carry on. Give me what you got.
Yes. Okay. So, like, I thought basically the whole point from, and this was like a kind of a lefty idea. It came from the left, which is fine.
Oh, people are asking who you are. This is William
I'm
of
a
Orange.
guy. It doesn't matter who I am. The point is that you should not use someone's inherent characteristics as an insult. And I thought that was like fairly reasonable and makes sense to me. And so to just like be like, oh, that doesn't matter anymore in so long as it doesn't support our political goals, to me is fucked up. But it's mostly, I know, because Destiny started using again, which is why everyone thinks it's fine, on the left at least. But to me, the actual like moral backing of it is sound. It's like you shouldn't use someone's inherent characteristics as an insult.
So
And to me, that's fair.
here's real talk. I would never call someone who's actually retarded a retard. It would be cruel.
Well,
Right?
yeah, okay, but you're not black. If I said like, "Oh, you're acting pretty black right now," that's obviously meant as an insult, right?
I mean, it could be. Depends on
I'm
who's
using
saying it, right?
someone's
Like,
I'm using someone's inherent characteristics as an insult, which is wrong. You shouldn't do that.
I understand what you're saying. I just don't think it's like
What? It's not.
it's
Oh, who
not
cares?
wrong enough to get my gander up. There are just so many things to fight about.
So
right?
you're like, well, it's fine to steal so long as you're not murdering.
There are
Good
priorities.
argument. You got me there. You're right. It's fine to steal so long
These
as
are
you're
not
not
the
murdering.
same
Got me.
at all, however.
No,
right?
no, it was an analogy. My
I understand. I'm just
analogy-
saying your analogy is disanalogous in order.
No, it
and the
is
reason
completely analogous. What you were saying is, well, it's fine to do because it's not that bad. Yes, it is bad, and you admit it's bad, but it's fine to do it because it's not as bad as other things
So
happen.
why
Fuck that.
is retard wrong, but stupid not.
I think both are wrong.
So idiot, that's out too.
Yeah.
Moron,
you should attack.
out.
Yes. Yes. You shouldn't attack anyone.
Then how do I tell people that they're being retarded?
Well, you shouldn't say that. What you should do is attack their arguments. So if someone makes a bad argument, you attack the argument based on what they say. It's pretty fucking simple. You don't
$2.
insult people based on their inherent characteristics. What you do is you attack the argument that they're making, saying, "I think this argument is wrong, and this is why."
$2.
Is that difficult?
$2 from Overlord Cly to say, am I a retard? Sometimes, yes. But to answer your question, I think that best practice, sure. However, we have limited time, we have limited energy, and some arguments do not deserve to be addressed, right? And it really depends on the context. I think there's a time and a place you can take even very, very silly, very, very bad arguments and kind of dissect them. But there comes a point where someone is continuously making piss poor arguments and with piss poor reasoning. And I think that it is not only okay, but probably actually good to just point out that this person has some sort of cognitive issues, right? And retarded is a shorthand, a way that everyone knows what I'm saying, everyone understands what I'm saying, and I get what you're saying about how it's using someone's inherent characteristics against them, but I just don't care enough to care. And maybe that might be a moral failing on my part. Fair. I don't care. Sorry.
No, I mean that's fair enough that you at least admit that you don't care about, doing things which even you find morally unacceptable. That's fine. But what
there
I'm
are
saying,
levels here. Hold on.
Stop. Hold on. Let me respond to your point a little bit, and then you can go. But it's fine to be arguing with someone who's making nonsensical points the whole time, and you're pointing them out, and you're like, okay, this isn't worth my time anymore to keep arguing. But I don't understand why, therefore, that your allegedly logical conclusion is the only thing you can resort to is using somebody how they were born as
it makes me feel good and I like it.
It doesn't make any sense.
It makes me feel good and I like to do it. It makes me happy because I get to insult them.
It makes a lot of people in white robes happy to say a lot of things, but that doesn't mean it's a good thing you should do.
Again, I'm not here defending it on a moral crusade that this is a moral thing that I'm doing, but we have to stop flattening everything, and this is my point here.
What do you mean? What am I flattening?
Okay. When we make it so that using the R word, and you use an analogy like stealing and murder and comparing those two, these are so wildly different things that it's sneaking in the reprehension we would have towards someone who is a thief, and you were putting it into someone who's simply using a term that you personally do not like. That is an inherent characteristic, which fair enough, but it's making it to have more weight than it absolutely should or does. Because honestly, I don't give a shit if someone's like, you're acting black today either, right? It's kind of weird. It's kind of gross, but I don't give that much of a shit. Right? It's just not that important. Like my biggest issues with people are in how they behave, not in so much what they say, not in so much what they believe, but how do they act and they behave. And I reserve the limited outrage that I have towards people who say super outlandish things, right? Like Hamas, if you oppose Hamas but you don't oppose John Brown, you're racist, right? That's outlandish enough to mock and make fun of and to put some energy to, right? Or if you are a thief, if you are a murderer or liar, these things, I'm also going to really have. That's where my outrage lies. But if someone wants to use a word, I don't care that much.
I mean that's fair, but like even before you admitted yourself, you're like, that it's not a good thing to use someone's inherent characteristics as an insult. So you, at some level, it's okay, fine. Saying it is not as bad as
Man, I shouldn't drink
stealing.
Coke either. Honestly, it's bad for me. But
Well, I think I think that using the word is a lot worse than drinking a Coke. Obviously, drinking Coke is bad for you, but like my analogy, I think is still apt. I
this
really
might
do.
kill me, right? Calling someone a retard ain't gonna kill no one. $20 from Joshua Mendez to say, "Hi, Wick. I messaged you on Discord to chat, but I don't know how to get backstage on your Discord. Help a boomer." Well, thank you for the $20, and we'll check it out. William, do you have anything else for us? We have a line,
No,
and I want to make
that was
sure.
all I know. But I think you're gravely wrong about this, and you
That's
shouldn't
fair.
just ignore small wrongs because there's bigger wrongs to worry about. So that's all.
Luckily, I'm not ignoring it, and I'm listening to you, and I'm taking into what you're
You
saying.
basically just said "fuck you," but that's fine. God bless you.
Did I say that? Okay, I'll send you
No,
the
no,
void.
no, no, no.
Bye.
You didn't say.
You know what? Gang, okay. Look. Yeah, you should be nice if you can. You should be kind. I'm not a perfect man. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know what to tell you, right? Like, allow me my small vices. Allow me my small vices, okay? Let me help this dude out. I'll send him an invite on Discord. So buddy, Joshua Mendez, and this is to all my viewers. If you want on the show, if you want to call in, if you want to talk to me, here's how you do this. You're going to click the link that I'm going to give you in chat, right? Or I said, Joshua, you pay me $20. I'll send it to you directly on Discord, right? I sent you the link. So what you're going to do is you can click that link. You're going to accept the rules. There'll be a rules page. There'll be an emojis, a bunch of emojis. My face is the one you want to click on. You click on that. There might be a time limit, like 5 minutes. I'm not sure if we got rid of that or not. But once that happens, you jump backstage. There's a line, and we'll get you in. Here, let me give you those links, gang, and we will get this done. Boom. Boom. And let me not leave Kick out in the cold because we love our Kick viewers. Okay. But there you go. And here, on the retard thing, like, calling an actual retard is wrong because you can't. Calling an actual retard a retard is cruel and wrong because they can't fix that. They can't change that. There's nothing they can do about it. Stupid people who are being stupid, who aren't retarded, they can fix their shit. They can fix it. They can change. It's not immutable. They can fix it. Anyway. Hello, you're live. Oh. Well, I didn't kick them. Where'd they go? I don't know. Gang, if you want to talk, you can't just leave. Where'd you go, buddy? Hey, I'll wait for you for a second, but we got a line. Okay, well, hopefully they come back, and we'll get them back when we can. Hello, you're live.
What's up, brother?
Oh, living life. Doing a call-in show.
Good. Oh, yeah, that's why I called in.
What do you got for me?
Did you see the video I tagged you in?
Oh, when did you tag me in it?
On Twitter.
Was that after I started my show?
Oh, no, it was earlier today. I tagged you and Connor. It was a PragerU video. I don't know if you've seen Infidels, a warning to America.
Oh, yeah. I saw that Islamist stuff, right?
Yeah, okay, so coming off our conversation last week about the anti-Semitism
this is
bill and how
Sociological Ali. People keep asking me, who's
What's up,
calling
dudes?
in? Sociological Ali. There he is. Okay, go ahead.
So we were having this discussion about the anti-Semitism bill last week, and I told you, I was like, hey, you know what? Fuck it, let's pass the bill, but now I want the Arabs and the Muslims to also integrate, right? Either claim Semitism because we fucking fully can, or because I don't know if you want to call it Islamophobia all the time, if you're just against Arabs or Palestinian, whatever it is. But with this video coming out and having 17 or 18 million views, it's going pretty viral. It's a whole like warning to America about the radical Muslims that are coming to take over this country and so on and so forth. And I am scared. I'm scared. I think people are going to start attacking me now.
So if you recall, my position during that debate is
We
I
agreed.
thought it was a
Yeah.
silly law
Yeah.
to pass because
Yeah.
it's a silly thing. And much in the same way, I don't care if you're scared. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't care if you're scared. I'm not here to make you feel safe. I'm here so that you are safe. You have no right, right, to
Mhm.
feel any sort of way. What you
Yeah.
do have and what the state should do is protect you. Like act, not your feelings, you. And I think that much in the same, right? Like there are some really crazy shit that's being said about Islam, that's being said about all sorts of groups, right? Really crazy
Mhm.
shit.
Craziest.
The government does not, involving the government in that is like asking the fox to come watch the hen house. They're not going to use their power that we give them responsibly. They're going to use it very, very poorly in most cases. And even if the current administration doesn't use it poorly, there's so many risks that we've built a weapon that future administrations who may not be as amenable to our values and beliefs would use it for. So, to the best of my ability, what I advocate for is keeping that weapon out of the hands of the government entirely. But please.
Well, I know. Listen. I completely agree with you. I think but the bill is passed. I think it's. Do you think
I don't
that
think
bill
it's
is gonna
passed the
go
Senate
through?
yet.
Do you think it will?
Oh, that I'm not an oracle. I cannot prognosticate too much on this. I don't know. I hope not. I hope that there's enough pushback against this from all sides of the aisle. I don't know if you recall, but a few years ago, maybe a couple years ago, maybe two, the Biden administration tried to pass a what was colloquially called the Ministry of Information, right? The Ministry of Misinformation, where they wanted to get together a board or a committee of some sort, a congressional thing, like a legislative thing, to decide what was information, what was disinformation, what was there's a few different malinformation was another category. Everyone, left, right, and center, made fun of them for that. They mocked it, they derided it, they pushed back against it, and they dissolved it. It never went anywhere. I'm hoping that this is what happens with this bill here, but we'll see, right?
I mean, I'm hoping too, because if it does pass, I am really, really, really serious when I say I think every group of people will then try to pass some type of bill for their people. And so that any type of racist speech, any type of anything that comes to them is just going to end up, they're going to try to jail people. They're going to try to get people kicked out of schools, get kicked out of work. I mean, they're already doing it. And I do think this is just like a really big worry. I just want to chat with you and see if you even saw the video.
No, I didn't watch the whole thing. Come on, but
Mhm.
I saw enough to be like, okay, yeah, I get what they're I'm picking up what they're putting down, okay, and I see what you're saying, and I agree with you. Like
Yeah.
look, we have our differences, but on this we are of an accord. Okay.
Yeah, agreed. Now I want to get backstage and fuck around with these other people.
Oh,
'Cause
are
we're
they?
having a pretty
Is
interesting
that where the
conversation.
content is? That sometimes happens, King, on my show. Is everyone gets backstage and waiting, and they start arguing. But anyway, I'll send you back there. Good
But
luck.
yeah, thank you for having me on. Thank you. Have a good day. Free Palestine.
To the void. Okay. Yeah, look, I understand that people have big feelings about things like hate speech. They don't like it. They really don't like it at all. However, free speech includes and always will include speech that makes you feel unsafe, speech that makes you feel uncomfortable, speech that you hate, speech that is reprehensible, speech that is heretical, speech that is just ungentlemanly in nature. The reason why I am a huge advocate for free speech is because it's almost certain that there are things that we hold as gospel today that are simply untrue, that are just simply holding us back. They're just not true. And unless we allow even what we consider sacred to be challenged in the marketplace of ideas, we will never progress. Being anti-speech is anti-progress. It simply is. Let's bring on our next contestant on whatever we got here. Hello, you're live. What are you doing, gang? You gotta stay. Don't click join voice. Don't click it. Unmute yourself and talk to me. Hi.
Hey, can you hear me? My volume's probably low.
I will turn you up on my end. What you got for us, sir?
How you doing today, man?
Oh, living life, trying to make some money. Trying to get these goons who watch my content to not be free riders and to donate and to super chat. But carry on.
Hey, I sent you $20, bro.
I appreciate it. Bro. What do you got for us?
Man, I guess I think we might. I guess I'm having a proxy debate with you, if that's okay, because I listen to a lot of Destiny content.
Okay, sure.
Can't get him on the line because he's a busy man.
Fair enough.
So you're like,
I'll be mini Destiny today. Discount Destiny. Okay, give us what you got.
Just kidding, man. So I guess like there's this whole thing about like he's been going on about this thing about that you. I'm a bad speaker, so it's gonna take me a little while to
take your time. $2 from Slongy and Stu to say I shall not be tricked into donating. Well, thank you for the $2. Carry on.
Nice. That we shouldn't use past historical actions to judge current conflicts. So regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict, like bad things were happening in the past. Like let's just say like America, like we did like colonialization and the Trail of Tears with the natives in America, right? And it seems to me that he's saying something about that, like we shouldn't judge America's past to figure out current conflicts kind of thing. How do you feel about that type of thing?
Sure. So one of the things that people forget about America is it's not as continuous as you would think, because we've had different administrations every 4 to 8 years, right, for a long, long time. And administrations will handle, and this is why voting matters, right? Because who's in charge and who's our legislators are, who the people who are in the positions of decision making will have huge impacts into how we deal with conflicts on a global and a domestic scale, right? It's one of the reasons that I think that Biden has been a great president, is because he has, with a couple notable exceptions, pretty pitch perfect when it comes to foreign policy and how he's handled it, right? Those notable exceptions being, I think the withdrawal from Afghanistan was a fuck up. I also think that his removal of Houthis from the terrorist watch list back when he first got in 2021, I believe, huge mistake in hindsight.
Didn't he had him back on though?
Yeah, right? He did eventually, but I think that it was
the original move was
a mistake, right? And then I think in hindsight, there's no question it was. However, I think that like when we talk about, and I don't know Destiny's argument, so I can't speak to that. But when we talk about not using the past to judge the future, and not using past conflicts to judge future conflicts, I think that's wise, because people will compare to whatever conflict they think will fit their narrative. So a lot of people will compare a lot of things to Vietnam. It's a famously unpopular war that America participated in that went wrong for a lot of reasons, in a lot of ways. And they will use that as a way to sneak into sentiment that this conflict that we're about to go into or thinking of going into is also wrong or terrible. It's a mistake to do that. It's politically it can work, but it's a mistake in reasoning and a mistake in thinking. What do you think?
This is where I'm coming from. I am I'm going to just say some silly words I don't 100% mean. I'm a devout atheist. I don't mean that 100%, but I'm an atheist, but I was raised very, very Christian. And so I'm coming at this from probably a Christian perspective. That's what I've kind of justified in my mind. And the way I view things is that I think we need to forgive each other for past wrongs before we can move into the future kind of thing. So when it comes to like with the Trail of Tears and the 100 Years War that we waged on the native tribes in America, that we need to, I believe as Americans, recognize that we did something wrong there to move forward. And similarly, I think Israel, and I'll put the Palestinians and Arabs in this thing. I think they need to admit wrong was done, to for both of those people to move forward. And I guess I hear your argument, right? That like, um, and I'm not asking for like people to be punished for their past wrongs, because like the past is the past, right? But I think there's something about reconciliation that I think is really important. How do you feel about that?
I don't disagree in principle. I think that we have to recognize why things were wrong. Not just that they were wrong, but why they were wrong. Why was it wrong to treat the Native Americans as we did, right? There are reasons, and we need to be able to elucidate them, right? Um, when it comes to Israeli-Palestinian conflict, we need to talk about not just what each side did wrong and is doing wrong, but why it's wrong that they did so. And I think that that is going to be the nugget that is very, very hard, the knot that is very, very hard to untangle. Because the hell of it is, man, everyone's got their reasons, right? And you can paint a picture that makes each side look very innocent in this, right? That they were only doing what anyone would have done in that situation. Or, if you'd like, you can take the same group and paint them to be villains extraordinaire, right? Like outside of anything you've ever seen. Because we've had, again and again and again, different administrations in Israel that have treated the Palestinian people in different ways. And you've had different ways that the Arab world around Palestine has interacted with the Palestinians and really sold them short, to be real honest with you, right? Like, they've used the Palestinian people in their little proxy wars and as a way to try to get rid of Israel in a lot of ways. And it's really kind of disgusting in how they've done that. And I think that's, if I may indulge me for a moment, I think that's what a lot of the protesters and things are doing today. A lot of the streamers with the watermelons and their bios and things like that. They're using the Palestinians as a proxy because they either hate colonialism and by extension Israel, or they just kind of want to feel like they're fighting the good fight and being on the right side of a history. And I think that they are using the Palestinians and getting them killed, to be clear, in order to, feel good about themselves.
Shouldn't we hate colonialism?
Why? Why is colonialism wrong?
I think the exploitation of people is wrong, and thus colonialism is wrong.
Do you think colonialism has to involve inherently exploitation?
No. So I think like the soft colonialism of capitalism is a lot more morally justified than like the old colonialism of like taking people from different nations and using them to fund our labor and stuff like that in nations is more wrong than like how we do it now, where we. But yeah.
What if not colonialism, right? And I understand I'm really stretching the definition. I understand, gang, if you're watching this in chat and you're watching this in VOD, I get it. I'm stretching. I'm like Stretch Armstronging this definition of colonialism. I understand. But I just want to kind of ask my interlocutor here his opinion on this. When we defeated Germany, the Nazis in World War II, if not colonize, what is it that the Soviets and the Western forces did to Germany? Like, we divided up, we put a wall between Berlin, right, their major city, and we divvied it up. Do you think that was wrong of us to do? Or in Japan, after Japan in World War II, we just colonized it, basically.
It's a complicated thing, right? Because when we demonized, okay, can I reframe this a little bit?
Please do.
Okay, so just how I look at that conflict is like after World War I, essentially the world like penalized Germany and like taxed it into oblivion and put sanctions on it and all sorts of things and created economic havoc that led to the rise of Hitler and whatnot kind of thing. And after that, yes, we did. You could call it colonialization because we kind of like took over those areas.
Yep,
and
we
said,
took
like,
it. We took over their governments. We installed our own little
get your shit in
people.
order, right? Yeah. But at the same time, we invested in those areas too, right?
Sure.
So I think it's that investment that is, you could call it colonialism. I'm reframing it as investment. And I think that's good that we didn't do that after World War I to Germany, right? So I think those are two different types of how we.
Well, no, and after World War One, like, and again, I'm no historian, so please.
Yeah, I'm not
forgive me,
either. I'm not either.
right?
I'm pretty. I'm
But
with
as
you.
I understand it, a lot of people would say that the fact that we basically the Treaty of Versailles, right, and the punitive nature of it is one of the factors that led to World War II. Again, not a historian, may be getting my facts wrong. Please don't judge me on this.
You and me
right?
both, brother.
But again, had they gone in and just done a better job of it, maybe we could have avoided World War II if they had done more investments. So what I'm trying to get at here, right? And I got a line, so we're gonna be everything.
Yeah.
That colonialism, in and of itself, isn't necessarily wrong or bad. It's just not.
I'm kind of admitting that to you and saying that, like, I think there's softer, better forms of colonialism, right? With like,
but the reason I'm
Sure.
saying this is because you came in
'Cause
and
I
you
said it
started
was
calling things that are
exploitation.
colonialism. When I asked why is this bad, you said it's colonialism bad. I think that we have to do better.
I think
that
when
just using that word has been, and it's not just
Sure.
you, but it's been used
Ag-
by so many. If I may finish, and then you can finish, and then you can respond.
Mhm.
But so many people have just used colonialism as a substitute for evil, wrong, bad, that it has made the discourse dumb. Retarded. Sorry, William of Orange, but I'm going to use that word, right? It has made the
42, so I'm with the R word.
yeah, like it's made the discourse around this retarded because they use these terms, they define these terms in a way that means evil, and it's just not accurate. And
I'm
so,
not
yeah, go
defining
ahead.
it as evil. Do you kind of think I'm defining it as evil?
No, but this is our
trying
first
to
time
make
talking,
more-
so I'm just making sure, and I'm also making sure that the listeners afterwards know. Like, I'm making the argument not just to you, but to my audience as well. Yeah.
For sure, and I do agree that a lot of the conversations around this are pretty toxic for sure. So I think part of colonialism too, so which we haven't touched on, is the removal of people, right? Kind of thing. And so when I said exploitation, that was more a general answer to why colonialism is wrong, which I do still think that, but again, there's nuances within that, right? There's better versions of colonialism than not, as we've kind of gone over, right? But part of that is also like the removal of people. And how do you feel about that part of colonialism? Is that like a good side of colonialism?
I think that there are certain people, and if they, I'll give you a press. Excuse me. Hamas needs to be removed. Straight up. Nazi Germany, the Nazis needed to be removed. Straight up. Remove those people. They're people, right? These groups are made up of people. If you are involved with Hamas, you should be removed. I don't think that's wrong.
Okay. Yeah, and I would agree that like those people need to be removed, but those people in my mind wouldn't be like the citizens of those nations. That would be like the governments of those nations.
Well,
right? So, like,
when we come to
overthrowing
things like
the
Hamas,
government.
it's hard, right? It's harder, right?
Y-
They're quasi.
yeah. I agree, but I also agree with you that they need to be removed somehow. At the expense of how many civilians? That's I guess, an open question that everybody's debating right now. Um, so, there was something else that I was going there, but
Quickly, because I'll give you one more thing,
you
and
know
then we
what?
gotta.
You know what? I appreciate where we're at right now. That elucidated a couple things for me in my mind. You know, I'm going over this, discussing it with lots of friends and family, and I appreciate. I listen to you. I listen to Destiny. I listen to Vosh. I listen to Hassan. I listen to Loner Box. You know, just getting a whole bunch of different ideas on this, and you're one of the people who I do appreciate.
Well,
And I
thank you.
appreciate you letting me chat for a minute and ask you a couple questions. And hopefully you let me back on in the future.
Sure. I do these call-ins usually once every couple weeks. So by all means, and
Okay.
if you want to be, again, I'm always looking for new voices on my shows. So yeah, just hit me up. I'll see you later, buddy.
Yeah, 100%. Bye.
Bye-bye to the void. But yeah, so there's this thing where people will use like certain terminology, right? And they expect you to adopt their terminology in the way that they mean it, but they use it to sneak in concepts that frankly are disingenuous. Colonizer is a good one. Settler colonialism is another good one, right? They use these terms, they use these kind of things that they set the field up to give them super negative connotations, and then they can simply skip having to prove you're a bad person by labeling you this. It's a shortcut in a way to demonizing and depersoning other people, right? It's also a way to flatten discourse, to flatten terms, to flatten topics, to remove nuance, because nuance is difficult and hard and messy. And when you want something to have happen, when you're an activist, you want to bypass that because you want whatever it is you're an activist for to pass through, to get through, and to happen. And so you will bypass some of the discussion on it, argumentation, etc. And this has been a very effective tool in that kit to bypass actual discussion and talking. And to be clear, all sides do this. This isn't something that's just something pro-Palestine people do or just something leftists do. Right does this all the time, right? Degenerate. There's a few other terms they'll use, but it's a way to like liberal. Like I posted a meme recently where leftists and MAGA love to call people liberals. Liberal is one of those words, right? One of those words that they have used as a substitute for dealing with your argument. They'll just call you a liberal. You're not really a leftist. You're a liberal. You're not really you're not a MAGA. You're just one of the liberal elites, right? They'll just throw that label on. They won't actually. They may give some half-hearted arguments, right, about why you're a liberal and things like that, and why that's bad in their mind. But usually they just throw it out there. It's retarded, but you know. Next guest. Let's see. Hello, you're live.
Hey, Wick.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, can you see me?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Do you want me just to be voice?
You can turn on your camera if you'd like. It's up to you.
All right. How do I do that?
There's a little button in the corner.
Oh. Is that it?
Yes, that is it. Hi.
Hey, I'm flying solo these days, so I'm a little bit of a boomer. I have a no contact order with my daughter in place.
Look, I'm going to be real with you. I haven't been following the situation. So explain.
I have a no contact order through the state of Rhode Island because I violated a no contact order by taking a walk with my daughter. That no contact order was in there in the first place because of an incident which occurred on YouTube, in which I would say I shoved her with my foot. Other people would call it a kick, but you know, the police were called and they arrested me. It was no big deal, but they put the no contact order and then they dropped the original.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal that you got arrested for kicking
your
daughter.
But you realize I got arrested a second time for the no contact order. I actually spent 12 days in jail because of that, or prison. Something people call different things. It was terrible. 12 days in prison is tough.
Okay,
but
hold on. Let's rewind. Let's go back. So what did you do to your daughter? Did you kick her or not?
Well, I would call it I shoved her with my foot, but it was something that you could say is like questionable. I don't think it's illegal because she didn't want to press charges and wasn't injured. But this is actually what I would like to talk about from an intellectual point of view.
Please,
you ready?
I'll try. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Like again, I haven't followed it at all, so I can only take your word. Go on. What do you want to talk about?
So it has to do with domestic violence laws and whether they actually do what they're intended to do. Now, I have no problem saying excessive violence in the home is no good, and rarely there's a place for violence in the home. However, I do think that most people would hold it to be a mainstream view that you can spank your kids in a very limited way. Would you agree? Whether or not you agree that that's true, that it's not crazy to say
So
that.
I will say this: I don't
I,
think that I'm against spanking your kid. I want to put that out there. However, I don't think that's the same level, nor should it be treated in the same way as, say, kicking your daughter.
right. Sure. I agree.
Yeah. So when we talk about domestic violence and the laws, your daughter's what? 20, 18, 19, something like that?
21. She's
21. 21. And you, whether you shoved her, whether you kicked her, that's.
Yeah.
Do you not think that the domestic violence law should apply to something like that? And why
If
not?
you press charges, yes.
But there's a lot of reasons that the state may be interested in prosecuting someone even if no charges are pressed. So, for example, there are a lot of situations in domestic violence situations where whoever is being aggressed upon does not feel safe going to the authorities. In fact, they fear reprisal, and they fear that if they did press charges and somehow they were able to get off of those charges, that there would be some sort of reprisal against them. So I think that removing the need to have the person who is aggressed upon press the charges might actually be something I'm for, depending on the details, right?
Yeah, I agree. I would agree the severity. And the laws actually do dictate that if there's severe injury or fear of severe injury, that then consent is not necessary to press charges. But I don't think that anyone would claim that was what occurred here. But here's the interesting thing about it intellectually. Okay, but you would admit that it's pretty mainstream to say that it shouldn't be a crime to spank your children.
Sure. Sure. I don't think it's a mainstream position that should be punished.
Okay.
But whether it's mainstream or not, does that matter?
But what I'm saying is, well, I think it does. I think it's within the realm of, whatever what do you call it? The something window. I don't think someone holding that is should be banned because they're an evil person. I think that's a respect.
Okay, yeah, I don't disagree that they should be banned for having that opinion. However, when we talk about crafting laws, I think that there is a public interest in public policy and what the will of the people is. However, there are certain cases where I think the will of the people should not apply. That's why we have a Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is one of the most anti-democratic things out there because it states, and there are certain things that no matter what the public wants, these are inviolable and should not be.
That's actually interesting because it's relevant, because both Grace and I made the argument that we were performing in a venue which was clearly an entertainment venue, and therefore.
Are you saying that you kicked her as part of an act?
Yeah, yeah.
An act that you were. This was just a kayfabe, if you will. Kayfabe. I don't know the wrestling.
Basically, yes. That it's more like reality TV than something, because look, here's the thing: if you were abusive of someone, you wouldn't do it on camera, right? You would generally do it privately. And I knew I was on camera, and she knew we were on camera. So
that doesn't track, though. There are plenty of people. Look, never underestimate the stupidity of man, right? Never underestimate how people's, especially if you're doing violence against someone else, that often results. Often the reason you're doing that is because you were experiencing this very strong emotion, like anger, rage, upset, disappointment, right? All sorts of these things. And they have a tendency to override our ration and our reason. So that it was on camera, and why would I do it on camera I don't think it excuses you.
Okay, well, what if there were several previous instances of domestic violence that were on camera, that police were called, not involving me, but which the police, said okay, is everyone all right? And they said it was a bit, although it didn't look like one. So therefore I said, okay, now, so the question would be, is it because it's a man that's involved that it rises to the level of a crime, and that the same exact logic doesn't apply? Because I don't think that's how the law is written.
Sure.
I don't think it matters if you're male or female.
I agree with you on that. That I think that we have excused when women engage in things like domestic violence. We make excuses for them when they engage in things like rape and things like that, that we
Yep.
don't for men. That is wrong, and we shouldn't hold them to a different standard, because even
Okay.
if they aren't as strong as us, even if Grace had kicked you, right? If Grace had been physically abusive to you, I think that the law should have come down just as hard as they
Okay.
do to
Do
you.
you think it would have?
I don't know if they would have. I don't know, but they
It
should
would.
have. It's an
It would.
ought, not is. And I
Okay.
agree with you. But the fact doesn't, like, again, that doesn't, just because there are double standards and we need to fix that, doesn't make what you did okay.
Okay. I understand. You say it's a mainstream view that adults who are related should never. A man should. Usually, they say a man should never put his hands on a woman in anger.
True.
But you would also say a woman should never put her hands on a man in anger.
True.
Okay, and I don't have a problem with a woman putting her hands on me in anger. I don't have a problem with it unless it's excessive. I think a woman could slap a man if he's out of line. I don't have any problem with that. Intrinsically, she might be wrong, but she might be right. If
Yeah.
a guy's drunk and control, she should slap in very, very limited. If you know each other well and you know he needs a slap to, like, hey, cut it out, you're going to get in trouble. I don't have a problem with that.
But you understand that whether or not you have a problem with it is beside the point, right?
I don't-
Whether or not for you and Grace, like this
I don't think society needs to intervene.
They do, and they should,
Well,
because I don't care. Look, there are a lot of people who are raised in environments that, when they're growing up, they are conditioned to be accepting of. Like, they're the fundamentalist Mormons are a great example of this, where they raise their kids in an environment knowing that they're going to be one of many wives to the elders in the church, that they're going to be sent off, and they're going to be kept. Let's use again Islam as an example here. If I may finish, right? Like, there are societies in Iran and things like that, and Saudi Arabia, where it is expected, it is commonly accepted over there that women will be treated in a certain way, and it's going to be pretty bad. What we Westerners would say is pretty bad. I think that just because you specifically, and even Grace, are okay with the dynamic you have, that does not mean that if the dynamic pushes certain boundaries, if it violates certain boundaries, right, that the state shouldn't intervene. I think there are certain lines you can cross where even if you're okay with it and she's okay with it, that the state should come in and put a stop to it and put down some sort of thing. Because consent is not the, I'm not a super leftist. Consent isn't the highest order thing that we have here. There are other things involved, but go ahead.
If, like, so for example, if two people are playing Russian roulette, you know what that is, right?
Yeah.
I do think the state should intervene and say that's a crime, even if you both consent. I agree. I think actually prostitution, well, it is illegal, and I think it's right, even if both people consent to it. I think pornography is the same kind of thing.
So if you are kicking your daughter, even on stream, right, you think you shouldn't be held to account at all?
Oh, I think people can absolutely ask me, like, what was the situation?
No,
I
do you
don't
think you should be held to account, like, legally?
Do I think that that's a crime automatically?
No, not a crime automatically, but that you should be held to account and they should at least investigate it.
Oh, I didn't have any problem with them showing up. Although I think it's a waste of time, but now here's my question to you. Okay, so you say, like, parents spanking their kids should not rise to the level of investigation, right?
It can sometimes. It depends. Are they using a belt? Are they just wailing on them? Am I looking at bruises on their backs? Then yes, I think this is the police should come in and take.
At spanking, that means open-handed on the bottom. Yes. So you're saying in at least some cases, this should not warrant police investigation.
If it comes to a point where a kid is saying that my parents are abusing me because they're spanking me, I don't care whether it's a bare hand or not. I think that that rises to the threshold. If I see my neighbors, for example, right? If I see my neighbors and they are beating their kid, spanking them in a way that I find, I'm going to tell someone. I don't know. I'm going to
Okay.
call someone. Right?
Okay, but is the law dependent on your emotions? Is that what you're saying?
No, but
Okay.
neither
But
is
so
it dependent
standard-
on yours. And
but
that's why
there's a
we
standard.
have legislation to make
There's a
laws.
There's a standard other than your emotions, and the standard shouldn't be, I think we both agree, if there's anything resembling what we would call, you could call it violence, even if it's like a gentle
Did
spanking
you
on the
kick
bottom.
her on stream?
Yeah, but wouldn't that be the same question? Did you hit your child?
It's a good question to ask. But answer the question. Did you kick Grace on the stream? Did you kick her?
I mean, I wouldn't call it a kick, but there was indirect contact. I didn't actually make contact. But anyways, you're irrational, right? So because you're not just simply going to say there are times when parents can use violence against their kids that we almost all accept as non-criminal, whether or not we think it's good parenting. We don't think the state should be brought in for every time a parent lays a hand disciplinarily on their children, right?
I would agree.
Okay. Now you're saying, but it's different with adults.
Well,
every
it's
time.
different also with context to the situation. Because when I say not every time, that doesn't mean no times. Or that doesn't even mean most times. That means not every time. So, for example, if I saw a kid going and trying to jump into traffic, right, to play in traffic, and the parent comes out of nowhere and just tackles them to the ground to keep them from rushing in to this obvious danger, no, I don't think the police should be involved at all. However, if I see them going and just beating the shit out of things, I don't know, but...
Okay, well, but I'm sure you would also make an exception between adults. If it's in self-defense, you can certainly use violence to protect yourself.
Was Grace attacking you? Did you feel the need to protect yourself from Grace?
But don't you understand that I'm trying to have an intellectual point, but you're just going back to the specifics.
Yes, because the only reason intellectuality matters is for how it plays out in the ground of things.
You got to start with the general and then go to the specific. If you just say like all I'm gonna do is ask you this question over and over again, then we're not having an intellectual discussion. You're just telling me what I did was wrong, which you're welcome to do, but it's not.
Okay, to be clear, I haven't seen this stream. I am only going off what you've told me. I haven't followed this at all. You called in today to talk about it, so we're going to talk about it. Yeah.
I'm trying to say, like, I will grant you that what you could call what I did with her a form of violence. Okay, yes, I'll grant you that. But you say that that's a crime for me to do to her, but wouldn't be a crime. You don't think it should be a crime if in every case where parents do that to their children.
No, I think every time a parent kicks their child, it should be a crime.
But I'm act of violence. There are some acts of violence which are light and disciplinary in nature, which you would say do not rise to the level of a crime. Right?
Yes.
Whether you agree with it, you would say
there are certain scenarios which that is true.
Yeah.
But
okay.
What's frustrating to me is that what you're doing now is you were pointing out that thing that is true, where we recognize that there are certain very limited in scope situations, like, for example, if a kid's rushing into traffic and the parent tackles them to keep them from going off the cliff or something, right?
No, not the example. I'm using an example of spanking.
But you did... Okay, a spanking is a light tap on the butt. That's not what a kick is. In any situation where a parent or anyone is kicking a child, that is violence that we prosecute.
A spanking is not a light tap on the butt. It's intended to cause pain to the child. Otherwise, it's like a weird thing to do if you touch your child's butt and it's not, a light tap on the butt is like, hey, buddy, you don't understand spanking? Come on, use common sense here. Spanking is intended to hurt the child in a way that's mild. And you don't think it's a crime. Okay, let's say you think it is a crime. Okay, but here's actually the point that's interesting. How does, when the state intervenes, like as you think the state should intervene,
yes.
How does the state intervene? They intervene with what? Violence, right?
And that's okay because they're stopping you from doing violence. It is okay for the state to send in people to keep you from kicking your child. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So violence is how we stop violence. Is that right?
Again, yes, in many cases, self-defense being one of them. Again, do you think that if someone wasn't doing violence, that someone wasn't engaged in any violent acts, right? They weren't hurting anyone, they weren't stealing anything, they weren't doing anything of this, do you still think it's okay to use violence against that person?
I think there are many scenarios in which violence are fine. Boxing is fine. That's violence. I think sports involves a fair amount of violence, especially with boys. So, I mean, I think there's lots of areas in which violence is fine. I don't believe that violence should be the province only of the police.
But again, in this situation, you have engaged in violence, and I'm asking you, did Grace engage in violence first?
It was not in self-defense, no.
Okay, so you just did violence. Then I think, yes, it's okay for the state to come in and prosecute you for that.
I
To whatever
understand that.
extent you did that. I think that's perfectly fine. I think everyone should be okay with that. Do you have any other things to say on this? We do have a
But
line.
it's inconsistent.
Maybe. But a foolish consistency is a hobgoblin with legal minds. Thank you for calling in, Ben. I'll see you later.
Okay.
Holy shit. Yo, what are you doing? You come on my stream and you talk about kicking your child? What do you think is going to happen? Oh, and President Sunday? Fuck off. You don't know what you're doing, and thank God he didn't come on your stream. You'd be sucking his dick if you thought you could make some money off of it. Okay, Jesus Christ. Wow. I'll check that video out later. I don't know if I want to watch it on stream. Damn, okay. Sorry, gang. I didn't know that was going to happen. Let's see. What are you doing? First of all, if you're going to court for this, okay, I'm just trying to recollect my thoughts. Okay. Public service announcement. If you're under investigation, if you have legal action against you, if you are being pursued by the police, or if you have a court date coming up, anything like that, for the love of God, don't go on stream to talk about it with anyone. That's in your best interest. He already went to court. 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙. 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙, are you Grace? If you're Grace, hop in and fuck. Fuck, I don't know if I want to do this. Let me bring in someone who's been waiting. Damn. Okay. Hello. You're live.
Whoa. What's up?
You know, just things.
How did I just get in here?
Okay, you guys know that if you're backstage, that means you're in line to be called in to live stream, correct?
Oh, shit. Nah, I didn't. I was just joining a decent conversation.
Gang, it's a call-in show. If you jump backstage and you want to talk, I will pull you in and we will talk. I'm going to assume you consent to being on stream if you're backstage. I'm going to assume it. I'm going to assume that's the case. So if you jump backstage, I will pull you in. Yeah. Okay. 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙, Grace, you should be in my server. Jump in. We'll talk about it. Jump backstage. I'll pull you in. Oh, God. Look, give me a minute. Look, I was going to talk about D&D today, okay? I was going to talk about, like, Dungeons and Dragons and nerd shit. I was going to talk about some politics, okay? I was going to talk about maybe some free speech stuff, okay? I don't... It is a call-in show. While we wait for her to get ready, we'll see. We have one more person. We'll see if they actually want to play today. Hello.
Oh. Hey, Wick.
Yeah, just real quick. Also, Grace, do not feel compelled. I'm hesitant to even bring you on. I wouldn't had your father not opened this door. I don't know. Think about it. Anyway, hi. How are you?
Hey, nice to meet you. It's my first time here.
Hey,
Yo, it's crazy
welcome.
that 𝕵𝖍𝖎𝖙 actually here. Oh my god.
I I don't know what's going on anymore. Give us
Yeah.
what you got.
I'm just here to rebound some ideas because I don't really have like a way to really talk about it. What's your thoughts on the Hassan Frogan cracker take, if I can say that on here? Hassan saying you can't be racist towards white people.
Oh,
What's
no,
your
that's
thoughts on that?
retarded. So I think you absolutely can be racist towards white people. You know what? If you can't be racist towards white people, that's on you. That's a skill issue. I can be super racist towards white people. I do it all the time, right? I think that like this idea that there are certain classes of individuals, of groups that you are free to do terrible things that we would never be okay with you doing towards any other group, just because of skin color, how much money they have, etc. I reject that philosophy wholeheartedly. I think it's all terrible.
I agree. What's your thoughts on cheese balls? Have you ever had them before?
I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah, me neither. I guess Ludwig says Destiny didn't really vibe with them at that convention or something, where like the vibes weren't really immaculate. What's your thoughts on the whole Ludwig Destiny
I
situation?
give no thought to that situation. It's just something I don't care about. Look, I will say this on there. There are a lot of people who make their careers by just attacking other people, right? By being the worst possible they can be towards other people. I think that kind of uh, way of getting fame, fortune, and money is suspect. I don't like it. I think people who engage in that are missing something from their moral center. I also think that people who, and this is a criticism I'll give to Destiny, that this idea of tit for tat is bullshit as well. Like, again, him bringing QT Cinderella into this, over the line. What he said, over the line. Not okay. Not in any way, shape,
With
or
the
form.
porn thing?
Yeah, that was gross. That was disgusting. There are criticisms you can make of that group that don't involve that. And the fact that you're going to that, let me tell you one of the reasons. It's not the only reason. It's not even the main reasons. But one of the reasons why I find it terrible is it gives that side ammo. And maybe it's just me, but I hate those people more than Destiny must have, because Destiny is willing to give them a W optically, to give them this ammo that they can use against them, to give them cover for their bad actions, right? Don't do that. This is one of the reasons we have to be better than them, is so we don't give them anything to hide behind, and so that they can't use their weaselly little fucking slimy shit to try to paint a false equivalency, and we could just keep this bright line divided and say, no, you're trash, you're a horrible person, and we want nothing to do with you. And I think that any blurring of that line is dangerous and bad.
Yeah. If you were alone in the woods, would you rather be with 𝕵𝖍𝖎𝖙 or a bear?
Look, I could take 𝕵𝖍𝖎𝖙 in a fight. I can't take
Ooh.
take a bear in a fight. Okay, the bear would eat me. I would be dead. But buddy, thank you for calling in.
Yep. Hope you have a good day, man.
You too. Okay. Ugh. Give me a moment. When Grace jumps backstage, I will let her on briefly. Just simply because I want to ask her directly about some of the things that have been brought up today. We'll see. We'll give her a moment. And when she gets here, we'll bring her in. We're just waiting on her, gang. Yeah, gang! Oh! Ugh. Oh, man. Look. Play 𝕍𝖎𝖙. Do you want me to play Domino when I have Grace Thorpe on? Is that what you want? I don't know if that'd be good for your brand. Wick, what character class do you normally play? Are you talking about Dungeons and Dragons? I'm a paladin guy, okay? Fighter, paladin, that kind of just the way I roll when it comes to what kind of games I play. Though I do like to branch out. One of my favorite, you can't react to the invite page. Why not? What is your, hold on, what's your Discord, Grace? Here. Ugh. But yeah, look, I generally enjoy playing paladins, fighters. I do like gunslingers too, right? Like, and that's not strictly a D&D. A lot of, yeah, you're in my server, so why can't you jump backstage? What is stopping you? What's the major malfunction here? It's at the top of the server. I sent you the invite directly. Here, I'll even DM you. Yes, you have to react to it by clicking the face. Click on the face. It looks like me. Why can't you react? Oh, okay. Don't. Hold on. I'm trying to figure this out, gang. Let you click the face. DM me directly on Discord, and I will just call you there. We'll just call there. We'll just call there. I'm right in there. Just WhickTV is my Discord. It's not secret. Okay, fair enough. I get it that you can't react to the server. DM me. We can call there. Okay, there you are. Add the friend. Start the video call. Why? Hold on, gang. Call unavailable. Start video call. There we are. I'm gonna pop it out. Can you guys see this? Okay, can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Is this working? I can't hear you. You are muted, silent. I don't know what's going on. No one can hear you. Still can't hear you. Yeah, can't hear you. Don't know if it's your settings or what. Check your, nope, can't hear a word you're saying. A big fat no. Hopefully she'll get this working. Maybe not. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you. Oh my god.
Okay, now we can hear you.
Oh
Great.
my god.
What
So
the fuck is going on?
Babe, I'm so glad you asked. Let's talk about it.
Okay, your father came in and said that he had been arrested for kicking you. What happened?
We were streaming and he reached out his foot. It didn't exactly make contact with me, but it looked suspicious enough that people called the police and he got arrested for domestic violence and then the charges were dropped. He makes it sound worse than it was. I mean, you can look at the video if you want, but
I'll check it out later, but so you're saying that he didn't actually kick you, that it looked like a kick, the police were called, and the charges were dropped. That's your claim?
I mean, he made a little bit of contact, but it wasn't really a big deal. But yes, the police were called by the chat, not by me, and then he was arrested. Yeah.
Are you upset that the chat called the police?
Yeah, because I didn't realize. Like, I kind of thought, like, we've had the police called on us before. But I didn't realize that, like, they would actually arrest him. And then the worst part is they arrested him for domestic violence, right? And so then he gets a no contact order with me. He gets out of jail. And then I was like, so we didn't see each other for like 2 weeks. And then I was like, he had to go to court, blah, blah, blah. Then I was like, okay, can we just hang out? Like, this no contact order isn't a big thing. I'm not upset about what you did. I don't want my charges dropped. And so we went for a walk together. And I think my brother saw us walking together and called the police on us. So then he went to actual jail for 12 days for breaking the no contact order.
So someone sent me the video. I'm looking at the video now.
Yeah.
This looks like a kick to me. It looks pretty solid. They connected, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really that bad, but it was nothing compared to when Darius slapped me. Like, my ears were ringing after that. That actually hurt. This didn't hurt at all, but whatever.
So I'm not sure about the Darius thing either. I think if Darius assaulted you, he should probably also face charges. And Darius is my buddy.
Here's the thing about the Darius thing is that I consented to him to, like, physical violence before we met up. And I've also obviously consented to that with my dad. So this whole idea of prosecuting things that happen on stream.
So
kind of
here's the
ridiculous.
thing. I don't
Yeah.
like consent isn't the highest order to me personally. I think that even if you consent to being abused, that's still abuse. It's like consenting to slavery. You can't consent to slavery. I think if you consent to someone beating the shit out of you, that shouldn't matter to the state. If someone is beating the shit out of you, they should come in regardless of your consent or not, and depending on the context of the situation, do it.
Let me ask you a question then. What do you think about BDSM? Do you think the state should
I think
go
there's
in?
some discussing stuff like that, and in certain cases, yes, the state should be involved. It would really depend on the context of the situation and what's going on. But unless you were saying that this was a BDSM thing, right? Unless you were saying that this is like a BDSM thing, which I don't think you are, this is not that. What it looks like in the video is that he got upset at you for whatever reason and he kicked you. And I think that you can't consent to that. And I think that the police and the state have a responsibility to come in and stop that from happening, even if you're okay with it.
That's interesting. Well, I would say that's definitely true for a child, because a child, like, might think they're okay with it, but they don't know what's going on. I would say that's definitely true. Like, if you're just getting beat up as a kid, like, yeah, the state, you can't say, like, oh, no, I'm good with that. But I do think as an adult, I think it's different. And I think that has been recognized as far as BDSM goes. I'm not saying this is BDSM.
Sure.
But it is interesting, like, there are BDSM clubs where you can, like, fully consensually, as a man or a woman, but a lot of times it's women, you can go into a club and get whipped and choked and flogged.
But you understand that the context of your relationship is much different than that of someone in one of these clubs. So your parent, your caretaker, the person who is supposed to take care of you, is engaging in that thing. And it does create this weird kind of incentive on a child, and you are his child, whether you're a grown-ass adult or not, you are his child, right?
It's true, I'm his daughter, no matter what.
You're his daughter, no matter what,
Yeah.
right? There are influences.
You're saying it's a power imbalance.
There are influences that change the context of the situation here. Not even just a power imbalance, but just a relationship that we naturally see coming. So again, in that situation, once I finish, you can ask me anything you'd like.
Sure.
But once I finish, so you, right, regardless of whether you consent to or not, right, we're kicked, assaulted by your father. Yes, I think the state should come in.
But okay.
No, I would.
Okay.
But go on.
You can call it assault. Well, here's the thing. For me, what I would say is I think it's much healthier for let's just say a daughter to allow her father to physically correct her, even if she's an adult. If she says, I have no problem with that. If he wants to check me once in a while, gives me a slap, I have no problem with that. Then for a sexual or marital relationship, because actually, I think there is more of a power imbalance between men and women in terms of father and daughter. Whereas in a sexual relationship, I really think you should be much more equal. So I actually do think that BDSM is kind of unhealthy. Like, if there's a lot of aggression being taken out on a woman, or she really likes being degraded in a sexual way, I actually think that's more unhealthy than just, in day-to-day life. Sometimes, I'm not saying you have to agree that this was that, but I'm just saying I think it's healthier for a daughter to say, I consent to being physically corrected by my parents once in a while, even if she's an adult, than for BDSM stuff, which you seem okay with, except for extremes, to happen. Don't you think that's kind of true?
No, I don't. I think that
Why
the
not?
fact that, like, the problem is, Grace, and I'll just be straight with you here, is I don't know how much influence your father right now has over you. Is he outside? I don't know, right? Maybe he's looking at you. There are things that I am just not aware of, and nor can I be aware of, which casts this situation in light, which means I think that the police should probably step in and at least investigate the situation to see what is going on. And I think that it is an unhealthy situation.
Okay.
If I may,
Okay.
if I may finish, then you can respond, right? That I think that, like, the way that this has played out, and again, I am no drama frog. I don't know all the details, but from what I have seen, right? From what I have seen, the fact that he abused you in this case, and I know you don't call it that. I know you don't call it that. But the fact that this keeps happening and things like this keeps happening means I think that there is something going on that deserves serious criminal investigation.
Okay. Well, first of all, the police did investigate it, and I told them, no problem. I've consented to violence on stream. It's no problem for me. I'm not hurt. I don't want to press charges. No, literally no problem for me. Now, at that point, they made the decision that they weren't going to take my word for it. And
nor should they.
I think you get into dangerous,
because you understand how they don't know how honest you're being.
If I can finish now, I think you get into dangerous misogynistic territory when you start saying, well, a woman is saying she's making a decision and she's telling us what she wants us to hear, and we're going to decide on her behalf that something is wrong here when she says there isn't. I think there's something riding the line of misogyny there, because I'm an adult. If my brother was in the same situation, my adult brother, would they have done the same thing? I don't know.
They should have.
This thing of abuse. Well, but would they?
They should have.
Would they? Was that?
It's
That's
odd,
the question.
not
would
is.
They?
I think that there
but
is
they wouldn't,
misogyny.
Though. They wouldn't.
That doesn't matter. Look, if you were a man and your father was a woman and the gender roles were reversed here, it would still be something that I think that should be investigated, and I think should be prosecuted if it was found to be what it looks like it is. Because what it looks like is that your father beat you, kicked you, and you are, for a lot of reasons, right? There are a lot of reasons, that you were running cover for this. And I do, and I know this is going to come out sounding condescending,
but Wick,
it's just
I'll
true.
give it to you that he kicked. I'll give it to you that he kicked me. What if I said I don't have a problem with my father physically correcting me? Do I have a right as an American citizen to say that for myself? Whether you think it's wrong or not, do I have a right as an American citizen to say that's okay? I'll give it to you that it was a kick and he did it because he was pissed at me and wanted to correct me. Let's just say that's true. Do I have the right to say, I, as an adult woman, 21 years old...
You don't.
Why not?
Because the state has an
but I
interest
can consent to be
in violating both of your
relationship?
consent.
I can be in a BDSM relationship?
No, I don't think you can. I think that there are certain extremes where there is actual physical abuse being had, right? The state has a responsibility to step in, and you can say, well, the context here is like BDSM. It's not, though. And we can't do these false analogies, these false equivalencies.
But you're just
being
it's irrational.
Not.
It is like BDSM. It's a grown woman.
You are a child.
He
is an adult.
No, I'm not a child. I'm an adult. You can't pull
but
that.
But the relationship is you are his child.
No. I understand.
It's why incest is wrong, even if you're adults.
The relationship between the man and woman is different. But the essential thing of a woman giving consent to have physical violence enacted on her is the same. It's just one is in a sexual context and one isn't. So how can you say that one is okay and the other isn't?
Sure, there's a dynamics to the relationship.
It's much like a man, generally.
Much like it's totally okay for a 40-year-old man to have sex with a 21-year-old woman. I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but it changes when one is the parent of the other. It changes the situation. The relationship dynamics change, and so I do not think it's okay for a 40-year-old or 50-year-old man to hit his 21-year-old daughter, right, in this context.
Do you think it's okay for him to hit? Do you think it's okay for him to hit a 21-year-old who he's having a sexual relationship with?
No.
If she consents in a BDSM relationship.
I don't think that's morally wrong. I don't think that's morally correct. I think that's morally wrong. I think that you shouldn't do that.
So he can date a 21-year-old, not his daughter. He can date a 21-year-old, but if she wants to have a BDSM relationship where she's the sub and he's the dom, and she wants him to whip her or choke her or whatever, you think that's morally incorrect. That's morally wrong.
I think that there are problems with that I would have. Would it go legal here? But here, again, we're covering up, and we keep doing this. We keep coming away from the fact that you're his daughter.
I understand that, but obviously incest is wrong.
That makes it
a violation
different.
of the boundary, and because if you have kids, you're going to have incest kids. It's fucked up. But that's sexual. That's not the same thing. Physical violence, it's not really very different if you're in a sexual relationship, or it's a parent to a child, or it's between two siblings. It doesn't really differ.
It makes it abuse in a way that a BDSM situation wouldn't be abuse. What he did was abusive.
Why?
Because he assaulted you because he was angry or upset.
What if I consented to physical violence? I don't think you can.
You can't consent to being someone's slave.
You don't think I can consent? I didn't say slave. I didn't say slave. Notice how you have to straw man what
I'm not. I'm trying to set
No, because you said slave. I didn't say slave. I'm not.
I am setting the standard that there are places where consent doesn't matter.
You just tried to straw man that.
It's because you said you can't. It's an analogy.
Yes, it is, because it's not an analogy.
It is.
So
much like consent doesn't matter there in the situation you have, consent doesn't matter in the slave thing.
Is a woman consenting to a BDSM relationship with a man, is she kind of his slave? Do you think that's how that works? Is that analogous? Is that an analogous situation to somebody who's been captured and forced to work with no money? Is it, Wick?
When you consent to being a slave, right? That argument that you're making right now is one-to-one, right? I don't care if normally we wouldn't allow this.
If you consent to being a slave, you're not really a slave.
You can sell yourself into slavery. That's happened for a lot of times. You make a legal binding contract, you sell yourself into slavery, in which case your consent is removed, right?
Okay, yeah, technically yes, but you get what I'm saying is like slavery is essentially non-consensual. That's why it's slavery. These people don't want to be slaves.
I think
if you
someone
consensually
assaulting you,
you're LARPing as a slave. You're not a real slave, obviously.
Someone assaulting you like this, that wasn't a LARP. Him kicking you wasn't a LARP.
I didn't say it was.
But you're trying to draw these distinctions. It's just not true. Look, again, I don't know all the details. It's very true. You guys just came into my chat today. I didn't expect you to talk about this at all.
Wait, hang on. I'll ask you a separate question. Let's say I had a husband. And let's say I said, okay, husband, I give you permission if you think I'm acting out of line to slap me or kick me lightly. I give you permission. Do you think that's okay?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because if we normalize that, if we make that okay to do, what we're doing is we're putting people who would normally not consent to that into a dangerous position, because then the husband or the person who is doing the abuse can basically use that defense to excuse their actions. So we have to say it's no across the board. So, for example, one of the reasons that we can't just take your word for it here, I can't just believe you, is because I don't know if there's a dynamic where there is retribution going to be involved here. So if you did come out and tell me, for example, that,
you're saying
hey,
he's going to beat me
that
because
happens.
I told you
that
there was
happens
a problem.
quite a bit in these domestic violence situations. There's a reason that women don't go to the police, is because a lot of the times they think, if I go, they prosecute him and it doesn't work, then he's going to come and hurt me.
Yeah, but that's not true. I totally could have prosecuted him. I could have gotten him charged with, the charges were dropped. I was sitting in court. I could have got him sent to jail and had like 2 charges of domestic violence. I did the same thing with my brother when he attacked me, and he genuinely did attack me. And I called the police, and then I was like, you know what? I'll just drop the charges. Women have an incredible amount of power in the court system. I don't think if you think that's not true. I have my own bank account, my own apartment. I'm not worried about retribution. Are you kidding me? But I get it now that I'm acting defensive. You're gonna say, oh, well, she probably is. Okay, dude, you're just saying because I'm a woman, I might be stupid and be with an abusive man, and therefore you can't trust anything I say.
Trust
which
me,
is just
you are
misogynistic.
you are not the stupidest person that's been in my chat today. That goes to President Sunday, okay? He
No, but
takes
you're
the
saying,
crown, okay?
but
So
aren't
you
you
are
kind
not
of
stupid. What I'm worried about
but
is that you are
wait,
letting your connection to your father, your familial love of your father, make excuses for his bad behavior towards you.
I don't think it's bad behavior. And you're just refusing to admit that that might be possible. At least be open to another opinion. At least be open to another opinion. You can say you
Again,
disagree with
I
it,
haven't seen all
but
the
if you just
details
write
surrounding this.
off
But
because
in
I'm a woman and I'm such a
concept,
stupid little daughter with her daddy, that's just misogynistic.
it is not. The
It
concept
is.
around this is fraught because there are many situations where abuse occurs, abuse is actually occurring, where the person who is being abused doesn't see it as abuse for a wide variety of reasons, but it still is abuse. So again, I am not a drama frog. I don't know all the details of your relationship. I have purposely not engaged with it as much as I possibly can, right? And I don't know why we're doing it today, but Ben stopped in and we're gonna go. This is what we're doing, right?
Well, you
This
don't
is
have
a
to have me on if you don't
problem.
want.
I
You asked me on.
understand that, but Ben came on, brought up some shit, and I needed to talk to you about it because I wanted to see what your side of things was. And I wanted to get a
Okay.
better
And now I told you my
perspective.
side of things.
You have, and now we've done that. Is there anything
And what
else
do you
you
think
have for
about
us
it?
today?
What
I
do
think
you
that
think
he's
about my
being
side of
abusive
things?
towards you.
And you think I'm Stockholm syndrome and I don't know
A
what's
little
going
bit,
on.
yeah.
Even though
bit.
I obviously beat you in this debate because I got you
Did
to
you
say
obviously
that
beat
if a
me?
man because I got you to say if a man and a
No,
woman
we have
are
video
married,
of you obviously being beat. That's what your
that's not a
dad
beating.
did to you.
I've gotten beatings before. I was a bad kid. That's not a beating. I don't know what kind of
So
soy boy kind of shit.
So your dad beat you before?
No, my mom did, sweetie.
Okay, well that was wrong too.
I mean, neither of them really beat me, but I've gotten whoopings. Yeah, that's not a beating.
Okay. Well, I hope.
Do you not think that kids can be physically disciplined?
I hope, Grace. I hope that you are entirely
Don't
correct.
fucking condescend to me, dude. Just talk to me like a person or
I am
kick me off.
talking
Don't
to you like a person.
No, you're condescending to me. You're not responding to what I'm saying. You're condescending to me. And just at least give me the dignity of just kicking me off if you're going to condescend to me. Okay, I'm a grown woman. Talk to me like an adult or just kick me if you can't handle it. Don't condescend to me. It's fucking gross.
Grace, how do you want me to interact with you right now? What do you want in this situation? What do you want
just
to
talk
happen?
to me
here?
frankly.
I am
Maybe if
talking
you
to you
think I'm
frankly.
totally crazy.
I'm being very honest with you. I'm being
Okay,
very
but you
honest
said
with you
something
what I
that
think.
didn't make any sense. You said something that didn't make any sense. You said if a woman is married and she asks her husband, she says it's okay for you to physically correct me, that's morally wrong. But if a man and a woman are married and the woman says, I would like to do BDSM stuff with you in the bedroom where you choke and slap me, that's perfectly fine. Those two things can't be true. I'm taking it out of the father-daughter context. You're just like, that doesn't make any sense, Wick. Those two things just don't make any sense together. Either both are wrong or they're both okay.
I think that things change based on the context of the situation surrounding them.
But
so while
I'm
it may
putting
be
it in a
okay to do violence in
the
certain
same
contexts, in certain
in-
contexts it is not okay to do violence. And I think
So
in the
what- so are
context
you
that you
saying that
have
if a wife-
specifically, you
No, but
not
you're
we're
not
not
answering my
moving this off from
question.
this.
You're deflecting. You're deflecting. In that context, where it's the same context, a married couple, if the woman says, I like BDSM and I would like you to physically correct me, or I'm okay with that, I give you full consent to do that if you see fit. How is one wrong and the other is okay?
Repeat it again one more time, just so I'm clear, so I don't strawman you, so I don't get it wrong. What are the two
Okay.
situations you were wanting to compare? And before you do that,
Okay.
I just want to make clear to my audience and to you both, right, that I think this is disanalogous, but we'll explore why when we get into it. Give me the two scenarios.
Okay. Married man and woman, both adults. The woman says, hey, husband, I like it when you slap me and choke me and spank me and whip me in the bedroom. I'm into that. Can we do that? The woman also says, hey, husband, if you ever feel like you need to correct me because I'm out of line, I'm totally okay with that. And I feel like I give you consent to physically correct me with a slap or a kick or whatever. Nothing crazy, just a little physical correction. I give you free consent. Do you think both of those things are okay? One of them is okay, one of them's wrong, or they're both wrong?
Both are morally wrong. Both are morally wrong to do. I don't think that you should. Maybe not
Okay.
morally wrong. I think both are dangerous. Let's use that word. Let's take the morality out of it. Both are very dangerous situations to put yourself in, and you should not do it. It is wrong. You should not do that. However, when we talk about the state
Why are you
getting
kink shaming?
involved.
Okay, go
I have
ahead,
no
sorry, I'm
problem
just
shaming
kidding.
kinks. I will condescend to kinkers all day, okay? If you want to call me condescending, yeah, but I'm equal opportunity condescending.
I'm
I'll
not saying you're
condescend to gay.
condescending.
You called me condescending earlier.
Not now. You're not being condescending.
Okay, let me finish the comparison.
Sorry,
here.
go ahead.
So
Sorry,
the
go ahead.
reason, right, the relationship between a married couple is different than a child, father, daughter, mother, son, whatever, right? Relationship is because of the histories involved and the choices
Yes,
involved. You
that
do
is
not
different.
choose who your mother or your father is. You do,
That's correct.
and you should choose who your spouse is, right?
I'm
And
not
so
saying
when
it's
we
completely
have,
analogous.
I understand, but I'm just explaining why the context is changing my answers and how I would deal with these things. So one of the reasons why I think that the state should get involved when you, for example, are kicked on stream, right? And I think people should call the police on you. I think people should ask the police to investigate. I think that should happen. Now, whether or not you or, like, again, I'll leave it up to the courts to make a decision on what actually happened here. That is no business of mine. But what it looks like is that he abused you.
But you're not really answering my question. I think it's actually okay that the police came, even though I said don't call the police. But whatever, the police came. But I'm saying, if you're a police officer, I'm asking your opinion. I understand you're not a court. I get that. But I'm saying, if a police officer comes to a scene where somebody's been lightly kicked and there's no injury and they say, I'm not hurt and I don't want to press charges, I have no problem with what happened. I don't think the state should step in and say, on behalf of that person, we're going to do this for you. I don't think that makes any sense.
I think
Tell me how that makes sense. Maybe I'm crazy.
Sure, because again, when a police officer arrives at the scene, they don't know the history, they don't know the context, they don't know if you are under duress, and so I think that them arresting him, taking him to jail, and investigating and separating you both, right? Separating you both, right? Until they can figure out the situation is just wise.
Okay, you know what? I can agree with that. In a lot of situations where things get super violent,
because they don't watch your show, they don't know.
When things get violent in the home, I can see you trying to separate the two people. But I also kind of think it's just illogical. Let's even say a woman is being abused. Does a woman have the right, or a man, right? But we always say women in this case. Does a woman have a right to consent to being abused? I mean, I'm not saying I was in that situation, but let's just say somebody was in that situation. Does the state have the right to step in? If they see it as abuse and she sees it as fine, isn't there a distinction between, like, okay, well, people have rights, they can do what they want? I'm sure if the police walked into a BDSM scene where somebody was blindfolded and hog-tied and getting whipped, they might say, like, hey, it looks like there's some abuse going on here. But, like, even if the person says, I consented to this, they might say, well, you could be under duress. We don't know. But people don't prosecute in that situation. So how is that different? I just failed to see how that's really different.
In
except
both
for the
cases,
sexual dynamic.
What ties these together?
The sexual dynamic makes it even worse because the woman is far more vulnerable in a sexual context with that stuff than she is, like, just person to person. I think that's, like, way crazier.
What ties these events together is that in both cases, someone called the police, and the police have a duty to investigate. And the police have a duty to investigate thoroughly. So yes, if someone reported to the police that there was some sort of abuse going on during a porno shoot, okay, and they came in, they have a duty to stop that, to separate the parties involved, and to investigate and to find out what. We do have very limited time here. Thank you for calling in.
Last question. Okay, just want to know from you, why do you think it is wrong? Let's just say for me to say, I'm okay with my father physically correcting me. I know you disagree, but why? Why?
Why do I think it's wrong for to consent to abuse? Because I think that
You're saying it's abuse. It's not abuse if it's consensual. But go ahead.
No, that's my point. It still is abuse, even if it's consensual, right? Like, it still can be abuse.
Abuse, using something incorrectly. Using something incorrectly. So he's using his physical power incorrectly.
I'm not going to play word games here. I'm saying that there is a fundamental flaw in allowing someone to do you harm right? To consenting to that to do you harm. It
Mhm.
makes you worse. And I also think it hurts the person who you are consenting to have harm you. It plays on a lot,
Why?
is a lot to get into. For example, if you consent to someone beating you, it gives this idea that it's okay, even subconsciously, for them to do this thing in any situation. And outside of very, very narrow scope, I don't think any kind of violence should be acceptable. So again, outside of the scope of things like you're defending your life, property, or other people's lives or property, I don't think violence should be on the table at all. And so when you consent to these things and you allow someone to do that violence, even in this consensual relationship, right, you are hurting both yourself and you're hurting them. And I don't think we should stop. Much like I don't think it should be okay to sell your organs, right, to willing donors, right? I don't think that should be okay. I think we should stop.
But you are just, maybe you're just like a non-violent person, and that's fine. A lot of people don't really like violence, but some people like violence. Do you think that it should? I mean, violence is just like aggressive physical contact. I don't think that just because you don't particularly like violence, it's not necessarily a bad thing in every case.
Look, I already consented. I already agree. Not consented. I'm already agreeing with you that
You
in not
consented to
every
my abuse,
in
Wick.
not every case is violence wrong. In some cases, violence is necessary. In fact,
Well, you said a very narrow scope.
yes, very narrow scope. And I think it's
Well, some
important to
people
keep
are
that
more
narrow.
violent.
I don't care what they are. They're wrong. But for now,
What if? Okay. Wait. What?
Grace,
Last question. I
Grace,
promise I'll leave.
Grace.
What if two brothers like to physically roughhouse and they get violent with each other and they hurt each other? Do you think that's not okay ever?
Someone should stop
Like,
that
grown adults.
before they hurt each other.
Why not? They don't really hurt each other. They just hurt each other a little bit and they tackle each other and shit like
That's
that. Do
very
you think that-
different. That's a very different situation. But for now, Grace,
That's not.
bye-bye. Okay. I don't know what happened today. Okay. So, shit. Man. I'm gonna go eat. I'm hungry. Who we raiding into, gang? Who we going to? Who's streaming? Who is streaming right now? Admiral Gibbs? You guys want to say hi to Admiral Gibbs? Nina's streaming? Is she streaming right now? Okay, we can go to Nina instead. We're heading to Nina. Okay, gang. I don't know what happened here, but I want it on record. I want it on record before we go. That President Sunday decided to come into my chat because he was angry, jealous that I was talking to the Thorpes and he wasn't. Again, I didn't invite the Thorpes on here. It's an open call-in show. Anyone can call in. But he wanted to exploit them for his monetary gain so much that he came in here and physically whined about not being able to. That's amazing. That's amazing. Gang, once again, if you are having legal troubles, if you have people coming in and taking you to court, if you're being arrested, don't go on stream to talk about it. You keep your mouth shut. For now, peace out.